Hey everyone, the more I get into the comic industry, the more that I meet people, and as time passes, the more I realize, really, the comic industry is different than others. Uh, People are, it's just so cutthroat. And I mean, it shouldn't surprise me too much, especially when you get, I don't know, there's just not enough jobs for the number of people that are so desperate to be in it that it causes some problems. Okay. And so I don't know. So we want to go through some of this, and hopefully this will be kind of focused. We'll see. So Marvel put out this video today, and it kind of got me thinking, let's get back to basics. Marvel, how to read comics. And it goes over basically, essentially, like lettering and what it means. And it's funny because I just had this conversation on the live stream earlier this week. Charlie Snowkins brought up, "Hey, what does the dotted line mean?" It means they're whispering. And okay, yeah, no one explains that, and he's read comics, for who knows how long. But you kind of just pass on by, I guess. And so, for those of us that read comics pretty regularly, uh, it's easy to take for granted some of the language and everything that goes on through comics. When you try to get somebody brand new into comics and they're jumping in and reading like an adult title or a teen plus title, it can be difficult. And I've found this to be the case a few times as I've tried to get other people to read comics. It's a little confusing if you haven't read comics before. So while this is laughable, kind of, because Marvel Comics has finally decided that, oh, you know what? Some people don't know how to read comics, or they feel intimidated by the medium itself. It's kind of laughable that it has taken that long. At the same time, I think this is exactly the right thing that they should be doing, and really reaching out to new readers on a very basic level of how do we get comic readers to be loyal to the medium. Because if they genuinely enjoy comics, they're going to be out there searching for good stories and loving it for what it is, as opposed to the other method that they had been taking, the Marvel method for getting new readers. We'll call it that, which had been, hey, let's gender swap this character. Let's do something outrageous in the name of social justice in order for there to be an online reaction, and therefore people will buy our books with no intention of reading said book, but just because it's some kind of a first, or it's a feel good, or it's a virtue signaling moment. All right, so while it's easy to make fun of this, and while Marvel posted this, and yes, they did get roasted in the thread, I guess, comments to this video. At the same time, I think this is actually a good idea. I think this is what Marvel should have been doing all along, constantly expecting there to be new readers, not just new to their comics or new to a particular series, but new to the medium altogether. They should be converting people into readers all the time. They should have a department that is just focused on selling the medium, because if you sell the medium, you're going to sell comics. It's only going to be good for Marvel and obviously the rest of the industry. So they should be doing this. What they've been surprised at, though, and what they've banked on too much, is that they were going to have loyalty from their customer base. And Marvel was wrong. They thought that their readers would be so loyal to Marvel that they would continue thick and thin, no matter what your creator said about them, they were going to be loyal. That is not true. They are seeing that it's not true. And I think that their reaction has been far too late. They believed and they operated under the theory that those fans were always going to be there. And so they were going to strike out and try to find that hipster purple hair audience that they could convert into comic book readers, when really all they should have been doing is getting people that were already reading it or might be interested in it, but they just needed to get past the intimidation factor of getting into the medium. So I actually think this is a good thing. I think it's too bad that it was so late, though.
Or to cite a
So I'm going to let you finish. Let me talk here. All right. So I looked here at Bleeding Cool, and they have two different articles out. I don't know, are they both today? Maybe one was yesterday. Same kind of thing. Okay, so this comes up a lot, and I don't want this to be taken the wrong way, but there's such a thing as using the word loyalty as basically leverage, as a means to control other people. Okay, so for example here, again, Marvel expected customer loyalty despite everything that they did to those customers, and they have been sorely mistaken. Bleeding Cool does this thing where they're loyal to people that have, I guess, the same political leanings as Bleeding Cool, and those that were willing to do this weird faux activism in journalism and in comics in order to try and ostracize people. I think really when you think about it, you take a step back and you look at it, there weren't that massive a number of people in the comic book industry that were actively trying to blacklist people. But the few that were really tried hard, and they really tried hard to reward each other. And Bleeding Cool is one of those news outlets that tried to do that. And so here you go. You'll look at Mark Waid gives free comic book day back to Collector's Paradise. So this is free comics for customers. They're paying essentially some of free comic book day. That's the plan. And then they go through a couple other people like Donnie Cates and Kevin Smith who are paying off customer pull boxes. That's a nice gesture, but this is also very public too. This is like an attempt to show how loyal these creators are to comic book shops. Okay. And as long as you look like you're loyal, if you appear to be loyal to comic book shops, then you're going to come off as a good person. Now, does that mean that you're correct or that you're loyal to the industry in itself? No. That means that you want to look like you're doing good. This is in writing, they call it petting the cat. You can have characters do certain kinds of actions that make them likable, or at least baseline likable. And if you're good at it, you can make them very likable. So this is literally all this is. Anytime there's some kind of a public like donation, stuff like this, obviously this is public relations. It's trying to become likable. And the way now to do that is to all of a sudden care about comic book shops while they're going out of business in rapid order. That's the time to show you that you care. So at the same time, this goes two ways. So this is another article out by Bleeding Cool, and it's talking about the Breitweiser deal with Walmart, the evil corporation Walmart. And so yeah, this has got to be something completely different. And so they're going to bring up controversy. You notice that the article here on Mark Waid doesn't say anything about the controversy that Mark Waid has been embroiled in. Not a word. Just that he often is such a good person that he helps out Collector's Paradise. And here he is doing it again. What a great guy. Mitch Breitweiser, despite what you might say about him, any criticisms you'd have for him, I'd say he's not really that controversial of a person. But who knows? Maybe he is to some people. Okay. But that is immediately in the Walmart deal. That is what Bleeding Cool has to put in because he's loyal. I'm speaking of Rich Johnson here of Bleeding Cool. He's loyal to his ideals, or he wants to at least look like he is publicly. So here we go. Mitch Breitweiser gained some controversy 4 years ago. 4 years ago, let's think about that. After he posted congratulatory pieces regarding Donald Trump's election. How dare he congratulate the president for winning the election? That's controversial. Do you see how this is all in the same sentence without a hint of irony? It is controversial that he congratulated the president for winning the election. All right. With a handful of comic book creators disassociating themselves from the Captain America and Punisher artist. So I would say that that's the controversial act. The fact that somebody can congratulate the president for winning the election like you would any other election, and yet all of your coworkers in the industry, your colleagues, would then publicly disassociate with you. Again, talk about loyalty. It's not about loyalty. It's about the appearance of loyalty, and that'll shift immediately as soon as public opinion shifts. That's what happens. All right. Although a number of those seem to have no problem working for Marvel, however, whose chairman Ike Perlmutter continued to be one of Trump's biggest political donors and a close personal friend. That's because nobody really knows who Ike Perlman is. He's not on Twitter making statements public. Or, I don't know. Nobody cares who he is in the comic book industry. So it's okay there. Again, this is all public perception. This is something that I have seen time and time and time and time again, is that anybody is willing to throw anybody under the bus in a very public way, as long as it makes them come out ahead, right? In this crazy industry. And I know like I'll get the comments where people say, no, it's like that in other industries too. It's really not. I've like name an industry that is this vicious. I don't see it happening. It's public. Right? Higher education has a lot of problems, but it's not like this. I mean, I've worked in the private sector. I've never seen anything like this, but it happens all the time. It has become just a regular thing. All right. After the Brightwisers were tangentially linked to the Comicsgate activist group, here's the thing too. Bleeding Cool likes to call Comicsgate an activist group. I think that there are probably some activists in Comicsgate. I'm certainly not an activist, and I don't think that that's a qualifier. What I would say, though, that Bleeding Cool is an activist website, because you're actively trying to control a narrative and move things in your direction. And you didn't bother covering the fact, Mark Waid, the activist, because he's been involved in activism. Activism isn't just making videos or complaining. I wouldn't consider that activism, having an opinion. It's having an agenda and moving toward it and trying to change other people. I don't know. I draw a distinction for sure. All right. They pulled out of the Lakes Comic Art Festival in Candle over personal safety concerns. So how is that? Again, like they link this like, the personal safety concerns were due to the Comicsgate activist group. That's the way he's trying to make this sound. It was actually the anti-Comicsgate crowd that was the concern. That linkage does not make any sense. It's intellectually dishonest. All right. While none of the books have claimed to be Comicsgate titles for promotional purposes, I'm gonna stop right here too. What's the difference between being Comicsgate and having a book be Comicsgate? Because I thought Comicsgate was an activist group. Can a book be an activist? You see how strange this is? The terminology just is so fluid. It's used as a weapon, however you want it. Okay. Let's see. After all, potentially they might need permission to do it these days. No, they don't. They have been heavily promoted by Comicsgate figures and feature a number of creators are associated with or approved by those using the hashtag. I tell you, using the hashtag doesn't matter. Is it an activist group or is it a hashtag? What is it? You're the one defining it here. You define it. Okay, so this is guilt by association. Again, do we look over here? Was Mark Waid, was his good news? Both of these were technically good news for the people mentioned, but was Mark Waid crapped on for his associations? You brought up the comic book shop. Did you bring up the comic book shop that he trashed and he had to have the police called on him as he threw a literal tantrum in a comic shop that he managed to steal from a business partner? Did you bring that up in the article? I mean, it might make sense. I mean, I'm following the same line here. Again, all of this is it's just an illusion. It is the perception of loyalty. That's what this is. Okay. All right. So that's basically it. Then he gets into the actual meat of what the books are. Again, good news can always be spun in a negative way. So that's but that's Bleeding Cool for you. None of this is new. Point is that this industry is really cutthroat. If you want to get into comics and you haven't been into comics, just expect it to be cutthroat. and I think it's fine. You just have to, I don't know. I'm still figuring it out, honestly. I'm still trying to find the bounds. Every time I think I have it figured out, the whole landscape changes. So I hope that made sense. Thanks for watching. Really appreciate it. Downcast Rise and Fall is still on Indiegogo. We are at 35,132. Thank you very much, everybody. Everyone's getting the foil stamp cover. And I need to figure out a stretch goal. So please tell me, for $40,000, what would be a great stretch goal? I'd love to know. We're in the home stretch on production of this book. We're well past halfway. I think I need to do an update on this officially. But yeah, things are moving forward, getting pages in. Things are looking great. And really look forward to getting this out to all of the backers, everyone that supported me. Thanks very much. And I will see you next time.